So what do software engineers, musicians, and authors have in common? Well, a lot more than you think, and in this video, I'll share with you my thoughts on what we can learn from these fields and apply it to become better software engineers. So these are thoughts that slowly emerged while I've been working as a software engineer, and on the side I put out YouTube content, write books, and build courses. So I speak partly from experiences. So if you think about music, right? Great music really inspires the soul. Great music, great instrumentals, great rhythm, great techniques really inspires the soul. It's just something else that you keep going back to again and again. Similarly, great books are just something else too, right? I'm sure you read books where there's no structure, there's no storytelling, and just generally it's hard to read, right? I mean, most academic textbooks are great examples of this. It's just jargon after jargon with no storytelling, dry, boring. It does not communicate to humans well because humans are more receptive to storytelling than facts and hard data. So great authors are great storytellers and have great command over the English language, and the way they write really makes the ideas flow and take life in your mind. So great music communicates to the human soul really well and inspires it. Great authors and books communicate to the human imagination really well and inspires it. And now coming to the software engineering side, from my own experience at least, I found that software engineering at the end of the day is writing great code that communicates to other human beings and that communicates to yourself and the machine really well. I know it sounds very mystic and esoteric and impractical, but just hold on for a second. Let me explain why. You see, when I started my software engineering journey, I thought the way I improve would be learning the latest frameworks and tools and gaining mastery over those frameworks, right? I found that's not really the case. What really gives you mastery, from my experience at least, is the higher level fundamentals, right? For example, knowing common design patterns, say something very simple as the factory pattern, it will help you structure your code in a very neat way. Understanding mobile architectures like MVVM, MVI, or MVC, and how we could draw clear separation between business, UI logic, and adding different levels of abstraction throughout our code through interfaces, protocols, etc. All these stuff helps you communicate with other people better. If you think about writing code, we've all seen code written with abbreviations, right? Like A, B, C plus D, D divided by Y, like letters being manipulated all around, and it will take ages to understand what the code base even does. But if you go to a code base where it's well architected with a clear, concise architecture throughout, where the namings are verbose and the functions flow and structured really well, it's just a delight to read. We become inspired and we are more prone to contribute it and be more creative with it. But if we dive into a messy code base with humongous view controllers, poorly named functions and stuff, it becomes really demotivating and discouraging to start. And that has a ripple effect because it means you're more likely to spend your time maintaining rather than creating. And this applies not only to teamwork, working in a day job, where the goal here is to communicate with other humans well about your code through the use of design patterns, architecture, and a good understanding of solid principles, but it also applies to your own projects, right? In my own products that I'm building on the side, if I'm not architecting it well from the beginning, when I come back to it later or come back to it a few weeks down the line, it becomes discouraging. It does not inspire me to continue creating on top, but rather maintaining and fixing bugs and all that stuff. So my point is simple. From my experience at least, I've learned it's not the native framework mastery or knowing different programming languages that really helps you become a software engineer, but it's rather the higher level principles that lets you write code beautifully in a well-architected, well-structured way. Now, how do we get there? We can take great inspiration from musicians and authors, right? Musicians, they need to know both the low-level knowledge, like reading music notes, music theory, and all that stuff, and layer on top of that years of experience, listening to great music, writing great music, and knowing the difference between both. And same thing with authors, right? They obviously need to know the basics of English, good grammar, good vocabulary, and all of that. The more you read, the better you become as a writer, because reading a lot of great books really influences your own writing and gives you better vocabulary. So both authors and musicians, they gain mastery by mastering both the low level and the higher level and gluing them both with experience. Similarly, as a software engineer, the way I'm approaching this is to spend time obviously learning the low level stuff, the frameworks, the trending technologies, the programming languages, etc. But also layering on top of that the higher level stuff like design patterns, system design, architecture, because combining both, I could create beautifully written, well architected code bases, both for my own products and for the day jobs that I work in. At the end of the day, I think code is just a way to communicate to humans in an effective way, which lets you eventually create great products that lives beyond you.